but the point of free speech and religious freedom is that it doesn't just protect my beliefs or your beliefs, it should protect all beliefs, the right for everyone to be able to explore ideas, to test ideas, and then to live consistent with those ideas peacefully, to pursue truth. And if we don't have those First Amendment freedoms and they don't apply to everyone, we actually even can't have a stable society or a democracy.
So ADF has had 9 successful cases before the court in the past 7 years, including the famous Hobby Lobby case, which allowed corporations to opt out of covering contraceptives based on religious beliefs. Help us a little bit with this. What tipped the scale in your favor when arguing that case?
Well, I first have to tell you there's an update. We've actually had 13 Supreme Court wins in the last 9 years now.
Wow.
And we just got one granted. We've got one coming up too, but we can talk about that later. In terms of the Hobby Lobby victory, we represented a small business owner called Conestoga Woods, and that case was litigated at the Supreme Court with the Hobby Lobby case. It's known as the Hobby Lobby case. And basically, it involved closely held corporations, family businesses, who were facing a rule that the Obama administration passed that basically said that businesses and even eventually nonprofits would need to include abortifacients in their employee insurance policies. And so for the owners of Hobby Lobby, as well as Conestoga Woods, they said that violates our convictions. We can't participate in the taking of human life. And that case went up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we were able to win it there, which ensures that families are able to live out their convictions. They don't have to leave their First Amendment rights or their religious beliefs at home when they go to their office.
You've also successfully argued cases defending religious freedoms, like the case of the Christian baker who refused to bake a cake for a same-sex wedding. What made you take on that case? That was kind of unique. That's not the pro-life issue. Why did you guys take that on?
Well, at ADF, we're committed to generational wins, and that means that it's our job as Americans to steward freedom during our generation and hand that freedom to the next generation. And I think that the case, Masterpiece Cake Shop, frequently is misrepresented in the media. What was involved in that case was whether an artist, a cake artist, who's using words on the cakes, who's hand sketching and painting cakes, can be forced to express a message that violates his deeply held convictions. And the Supreme Court, we won that case in a 7-2 decision, said that violated Jack Phillips's right of free exercise of his religion. And really, I think it would be great to talk a little more about how that case came to be, because it started in 2012. And now we're seeing a very similar case that the court just agreed to hear, which is called 303 Creative. And that is involving the same issues, but on the free speech side of things.
Some people might be tempted to think, well, it's just a cake. Why are we making such a big deal about this? Why would this go to the Supreme Court? It's a cake, it's icing. But you're now saying that serves as maybe a precedent for what will happen in the future. Why is it so important?
Because that's how the law works. That's how our justice system works in America. So first of all, when we think about decisions that have been made when we don't stand for our freedom, those decisions lead to future decisions and an expansion of that precedent. And I think what's critical to the Masterpiece Cake Shop ruling is to understand that Jack Phillips serves everyone who walks into his store. The objection wasn't to just designing a cake. That couple could have any cake in his store and purchase it. Instead, it's about being able to choose the message and not speak a message that violates your core convictions. So really that issue transcends our beliefs on marriage. We might disagree on whether we design the cake or not design the cake, but we all want to be able to speak messages that are consistent with who we are and what our beliefs are.
Some cases are important, but not all cases make it all the way to the Supreme Court. What was it about the Hobby Lobby case and the Masterpiece Cake Shop case that got through the door in front of those justices?
Well, most cases don't make it to the Supreme Court. And in fact, just in this last term, we had 2 Supreme Court victories, but it's the second least term in the history, I think it is, that the court took the fewest amount of cases. So it's actually, the court's taking even fewer cases than it used to take. When you're arguing for the court to take a case, you don't have a right to do that, to have them take the case. So you really need to establish that there's a national issue, that the court needs to expend its limited resources to resolve this issue for the whole nation. And that's why those cases were important. And that there's essentially a grave constitutional issue at stake is also another way of getting the court to take the case. And that was true in both of those cases.
How do you prepare when you know you're going to be arguing a case that is essentially dealing with two competing moralities? Because the people on the other side of the issue probably have an entirely different worldview and a different base for their morality, and they're arguing from that morality.
Well, yes, they are. But the point of free speech and religious freedom is that it doesn't just protect my beliefs or your beliefs. It should protect all beliefs, the right for everyone to be able to explore ideas, to test ideas, and then to live consistent with those ideas peacefully, to pursue truth. And if we don't have those First Amendment freedoms and they don't apply to everyone, we actually even can't have a stable society or a democracy. I mean, we can look right now at what's happening in the world and see the implications of denying people these liberties that are inherent to who they are as God's creatures and God's created order.
Now, somebody told me that you often wear a silver bracelet that has something inscribed on it for such a time as this. Is that true from the book of Esther? There it is.
Right here. I have two bracelets that I wear. That's one. And the second is one that reminds me when we started Jack's case that we need to see it through. And so far, we've been working on that issue for a decade. So I have that bracelet on today as well.
How do you prepare when you're going into a case and you know that you're going to be arguing something that is incredibly controversial? Like when you were asked whether you believe it's possible for a person to be transgender, you know that you're stirring up the hornet's nest here, and this is not going to be easy. How do you mentally prepare for that?
Well, it's interesting that you asked me that. I was at Yale Law School last week, and you may see some articles come out about the protests that took place there. And that issue was a big issue. But I think that what it underscores for me is the importance of not only being willing to defend the right to speak the truth, which we've talked about, to defend our mission is to keep the door open for the gospel. So to keep that door open for all of us, but we also need to walk through that door and share that truth. And so I look for opportunities to not only share why these freedoms are important for everyone, but why actually following biblical principles and recognizing that biological distinctions matter, that biology matters, that boys and girls are different, that actually contributes to human flourishing. We know that what the scripture says about all these different issues, but we also know that God provides these guardrails for a reason because they help human flourishing. And in the issue of transgender individuals, it's primarily women and girls who will suffer the most if we adopt this radical ideology. And that's why I think you're seeing even some progressives who would never agree on any other issue with someone like ADF agreeing with us on this issue of men essentially identifying as women and vice versa, because it harms humanity and families.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron, and thanks for watching the Kirk Cameron on TBN YouTube channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. A couple of things. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so that you're notified every time a new video is posted. And be sure to share your takeaway in the comments and invite a friend to join the conversation.